technology is evolving, and the way cyber attack happen is also changing. Because of this, it is now important to consider human factors in security. Human weaknesses are now very common when it comes to security and the context of cybersecurity. We need to have measures in place to ensure that our human security is good and we are able to improve the security posture in our organization. There is a report that I saw recently that says that out of every 10 data breaches that happen, 8 of these breaches has to do with human elements. This is a cause for concern because human factors have become really huge in cybersecurity, and we need to take note of it. What is the cost of a weak human firewall? The first thing is it is expensive, and the next thing is it is damaging. For every organization that have to pay for a weak human firewall, they have to pay huge money to recover from it. Not only that, their reputation is also at stake. For these reasons, we have to have at the back of our mind human insecurity. I'm going to quickly talk about the human psychology, which has become really important. When cyber attackers see that there is fear in you, they try to use that as a way to get their victim, because they know that the victim is not in the right place to think about the approach to do. So it's one way by which they use to get their victims. Another one is greed. When they see that somebody wants money fast, they use that as an approach. Can we take money out of this person? Because they feel that the person wants quick money. So you see cases where they send messages like, you have just won a Visa lottery. Click on this link to claim your prize. Or you just won an amount of money. But if you did not apply for such amount of money, why are you clicking on such links? These are some of the reasons why human insecurity has become really important. Another factor to note is distraction. If there is a person that is distracted and is not able to think properly, it is very possible that you take some actions you are not supposed to take. So because of this factor, it is important to always have at the back of your mind human insecurity. Also, to quickly talk about curiosity. There are people who have clicked on malicious links out of curiosity. They just want to know what's at the end of it, and they end up clicking on such links, and it affects them eventually. Lastly, to mention here is stress. I would like you to scan this backward and join in this poll. It says that, in your opinion or experience, what is the most common human factor that attackers have used to gain unauthorized access? It will be good to get enough perspectives here today. This is really good. I can see more people are tilting towards greed. Some people are tilting here. There's fear, there's greed. Taking the top. Yeah, distraction, curiosity. Greed. You cannot agree with me that greed is a huge factor when we are talking about human factor in security. A lot of people do not think immediately they see something that involves money, they are quick to take the action, and it is afterwards then they realize that something has gone wrong. So it is important for us to have this at the back of our mind. Infiltrating the human, this is a process attackers take to get their target or their victim. How do they achieve this? The first is to identify the victim. Who is the person they want to attack? How can they get the person they want to attack? When they have identified a good victim, the next thing they do is to gather information. There are different sources now that attackers use to gather their information. They can go to websites, they can go to blogs, they can go to social media platforms. And once they've gathered enough information about the victim, they start to prepare. They start to prepare how best to get the victim victim or the target. And when they are done with the preparation phase, they start to build relationships. How can they build a good relationship with this victim? Because they want something out of the victim. And when they do that, the next thing they do is to abuse the relationship they've already built. And once they are successful in that, they infiltrate the human. These are cases of some organizations that have been victims of the human element in security. This is one of the reasons why we have to continue to mention it. Human factors is key. We cannot discount the fact that organizations are losing so much money to human factors in security. Also, their reputations are at stake if they are not taking into consideration the risks involved in humans in security. There are common social engineering tactics that are very good for us to know. There is something common with all of the tactics. It is the human elements. Another thing is the impacts of these attacks. Just like I said in the previous slides, one is expensive, two is damaging. So it is important for us to take into consideration that this impact is what attackers are leveraging on to target their victims. I'm going to quickly touch on the way forward. We've talked about the issue. The next thing to notice, what is the way forward? How do we address the gaps when it comes to human insecurity? Data. The first thing I'll talk about is we're in a data-driven world currently. The world is currently filled with data. We can make use of it as a cybersecurity professional. Let us look at the data that we have. What is the current threat landscape in our industry? What are the kind of cyber attacks that we have faced? How can we leverage on this data that we are collecting to ensure that we improve our processes? Can we build a threat landscape based on the data that we have so that we don't fall victim to these attacks? The next thing I'll talk about is introducing new ways of doing awareness. Cybersecurity awareness is now evolving. We have to ensure that we put these practices in our organization. We can think about gamified education. Think outside of the normal way of doing awareness. Can we introduce games so that people will be more interested? Can we develop content with humor in it so that employees will be interested to read about it? What are the innovative ways that we can ensure that we are passing the message across when it comes to cybersecurity awareness? Another key thing is simulated phishes. They are really good because they are able to know within the organization what is the weak element that we need to address. What are the kind of awareness that we can put in place? One-on-one interactive trainings is also nice. Put scenarios in place so that people can understand how to target these issues and also to have specific policies that can help in addressing these issues. This is an example of a gamified education. I have this game downloaded. What it does is that there are different stages and there are different levels. You go from stage to stage and you advance as you go within the level. You can explore it if you have an Android device, download it and see how it works out. At the end of the day, it plays with the intelligence and it helps to advance when it comes to human insecurity. I'm going to lastly talk about some very key considerations when we are talking about human insecurity. When I started with cyber attacks, but it's also important to note that human insecurity is beyond cyber attacks. There are other considerations that you have to put in mind. The first thing is accessibility. What is accessibility in cybersecurity? Is cybersecurity accessible to everyone? People with abilities or not? It is very important and it is a key consideration when you are talking about human insecurity. Ensure that cybersecurity is accessible to everybody. The other thing I'll talk about is security professionals. We need to ensure diversity and inclusion in our security processes. We need to ensure that we are hiring the right people with the relevant skills. Cybersecurity is now very broad and diverse, and people have different skill sets. So it is important that when we are hiring people with the right skill set to do the job. The third thing to consider is effectiveness of security awareness. How are we doing security awareness? Is it just a checkbox exercise, or are we doing it the right way? These are very important considerations. We need to make sure that we implement a feedback mechanism. When awareness is done, take feedback from people. Are they getting the right content? Is it the right delivery? Can we improve by developing awareness programs that would benefit everyone within the organization? And the last point is stakeholder management. Are we collaborating with our stakeholders effectively, or are we causing friction? There are cases in organizations that some people say they don't like cybersecurity professionals because it feels like they're always on their neck. So as a cybersecurity professional in the organization, you have to be careful when engaging stakeholders and make sure that the right message is passed across. One of my recommendations is that appointing security champions is very important. Ensure that you get the right security champions from the business and ensure they understand cybersecurity so that you can pass that message across to everybody. At this point, I would like to stop now, and if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Thank you very much.